You must understand, church, that not everybody was designed or formed for the same purpose. When I look at Joseph, Joseph was designed for a purpose. And that purpose that God formed and designed Joseph is to save a nation. Are you listening to me? When I look at Esther, she was a little different than Ruth, but Esther was designed for a certain purpose. That purpose was to save that same nation. When I look at Daniel, Daniel was uniquely formed. He was different than all of the other prophets, for he was designed to save that same nation. I'm trying to tell us that many of us has different function and purpose, but you must know, hallelujah, that all things is of the Lord. How to touch your neighbor, say, neighbor, all things is of the Lord. Wrong neighbor, find another one, tell them all things is of the Lord. That's why Joseph can look at his brothers and say, you meant it for evil, but God had already determined it for the good. That's why Mordecai can look at Esther and say, Esther, you don't know whether or not for this purpose that God has designed you to save a nation. That's why Daniel, when he went in the lion den, he was able to tell the king, O king, live forever, for my God have closed up the lion mouth. What I'm trying to tell you, if you know your role, if you know your design, if you know your shape, you can speak to the devil that's trying to hurt, harm, and kill you and say, not yet, devil, for my time is not yet at hand. That's why Jesus was able to speak with authority and power. He knew the purpose of his design. He knew the purpose of why God shaped him. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, do you know your purpose? God, I wish I had a witness in here. Hallelujah. So when I studied the book of Hezekiah, God called Hezekiah because he designed him for a purpose. And when the fullness of time came to pass, God had to yet fulfill the purpose of why he called him. Now, God just don't have no one purpose in mind for you. He don't have a singular purpose, but God have a plural purpose. He continued to get his glory out of your life. Can I tell you why he will continue to get his glory out of your life? Ask me why, Bishop. I'm glad you asked, because the earth is the Lord and everything that dwell therein. I'm going somewhere with this, and if you give me a few minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and strip some gears and slam the clutch, and I'm gonna pull the load on in the glory. Hallelujah, somebody. So that brings me to this question, and the question that I want to ask you is, can God test your heart and your character? I can't get no help in here. If you belong to the Lord, he should be able to test your heart or your character. For the book says, after God restored him and gave him an extension, that God decided to test his heart. Let me tell you something, church. In testing his heart, God said, I got to test his character. How did God do it, Bishop? I just read it to you. The Bible says, and God withdrew himself, because without the Lord, you got to operate from your own character. Without the Lord, you only can pursue forward with what's already in your heart. I can't get no help in here. The more God remain in our presence, the more God